From time to time, we read on forums where we have customers call us and say that their joystick on their Riley Hopkins press is fairly hard to use, and maybe possibly their screen isn't holding that good a registration. Well, 95% of the time, it's from one certain instance that you can easily fix on your press the reason that's happening. I'm going to basically show you how to adjust your press so that if your joystick is hard to move, if it's sticking, your joystick should be very easy to move. It should should flow like butter. But if it's sticking, if it's hard to move, and if your press, once your joystick's locked down, doesn't hold tight registration from left to right if it moves, then we're going to show you how to fix that. And it's typically because of this reason. This is your screen gate right here. This is your gate that holds your clamp, so when your clamp comes down and when your head comes down, it doesn't move from side to side. What happens is if your registration block does not fit all the way down into your screen clamp, if it sits up a little bit, it won't hold it in very tight. The other thing that happens is if your screen, in order for the joystick registration to work properly, and even for proper printing, your screen has to be at an even parallel surface between your printing platen and the screen itself. If you have an off-contact adjustment or a tilt that's like this or like this, and your back of your screen's hitting the back of the screen palette, or the front of the screen's hitting the front, sitting like this or sitting like this, it's going to be hard to print, and it's also going to be hard to adjust because instead of the screen being able to move freely over the palette, it's going to give you some resistance, and it's going to be hard. So that's a lot of the reason why your joystick could be sticking. Let me explain here. As we bring the screen down, we notice that the front of the screen hits first and the back of the screen's up. Now, this can happen a lot of times without you even knowing it. Let's say you set your press up and you level the screen all the way out, but then you could come and put an off-contact adjustment like we recommend on the top of your press. If you put an off-contact adjustment, especially a really thick off-contact adjustment on the top of your press, what can happen is it can raise the top of the screen up off the press. So instead of being at an even parallel field once again, your top of your screen's holding the screen clamp from going in. If you picture my arm right here, this is your palette, and as the screen clamp goes in, if your screen's not all the way level with the palette, it's going to stop the gate from going all the way down into the registration gate. It's going to stop the head from going all the way down the registration gate. So it's very important that you use your tilt controls and your off-contact adjustments together as you reset up your press from job to job in order to ensure that you have an even playing field between your screen and the palette. I'll give you an example here. Look at this screen. First of all, we'll let it rest down in the gate all the way. We can move it back and forth. Then we'll also try to play with the joystick. It's like very, very stiff. It barely even moves. So what we'll do is we'll now make the proper adjustments in order to reset the press up so that both our screen sits all the way in the gate and the joystick moves evenly. We'll tighten this back down. First thing you want to do is you want to take a 9/16 wrench. Your top adjustment right here is your tilt adjustment. You want to loosen both your off-contact adjustments and you want to loosen your tilt adjustment. So we'll loosen these adjustments all the way up. Even right there we could see the screen come and sit flat into the gate, and it's also sitting flat on the palette right now. Also, loosen up your off-contact adjustments. Then you want to get some kind of even playing field plate to use as an off-contact set plate in order to get proper control all the way throughout the whole screen. So we'll just bring that up here. Then we'll push it down flat all the way. Next, we'll go ahead and make sure this is pressed all the way down and all the way flat throughout the palette and tighten everything back up. Once we're all tightened out, we'll bring it back, set it down. Then if you are going to use an off-contact adjustment, you want to make sure that your off-contact adjustment isn't bigger than the off-contact you just created on the press. Let's go grab an off-contact adjustment. So in this instance, our off-contact's about 1/8 of an inch. So we're going to use just a simple penny as an off-contact adjustment. Now if we used a couple pennies or if we use something thicker, then we could have that problem again where the screen's sitting in at an angle instead of resting flat. Then when you bring your off contact adjustment down, you want to ensure that the screen, it doesn't hold the screen up. The screen still is allowed to rest in the gate. Then we'll show you the tilt adjustments. Once we've leveled our press all the way out, we can now see how easy the joystick is to move. Got a lot of control. Should move like butter. Should slide instead of giving it, really rough control. It should be very easy to use. The other thing that you can do is use a little bit of sewing machine oil if your press is getting a lot of spray tack stuck in between the registration plate and the joystick. So that's a couple of things you can do as well to kind of lube it up. But even after lubrication, unless you're sitting at a flat and even playing field, you're still going to have trouble moving the joystick. We'll tighten that back down in, and we'll now try to move it from left to right. It doesn't move at all. So if you're having a problem using your joystick registration or with your gate and press holding registration correctly, those could be your two issues. The other thing you want to make sure to always keep track of is that your registration nylon bolts are snug against the press. So when your head comes down and sits all the way into the press, it still is holding it taut. And as these start to wear down, you may have to slightly tighten them in. But make sure not to tighten them in if your head's not all the way sitting down like that. If you're having the problem where you actually see your head not resting between the registration gate, do these instructions and level your press back out, and that'll really help. Also, we want to ensure never to use this adjustment. This is not an off-contact adjustment. This is a simple factory adjustment. We don't want to adjust this, and we don't want to adjust this. We want to leave these two alone, and the only adjustments we want to use on the press is, once again, the off-contact adjustments on the back of the head and the tilt adjustment, which is the top bolt right behind the screen clamp. If you have any questions, let us know, but we hope this video helps.